time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 30. And it was actually recorded live Saturday, June 18th, 2011, the day before Father's Day. My name, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, and with me as always, from Toronto, Ontario, Canada,
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association.
Found at thelbma.com or at thelbma on that thing that we call the Twitter. The Twitter. Asif, to be 30 again.
Yeah, hey, it was good the first time, and I wish I could go back. But anyways, we're here now, episode 30, and once again, lots to cover this week.
Well, congratulations on making it. I think this is 30 consecutive weeks that we've done this. I don't know what this is. This is bigger than a habit now. This is an addiction. Is that can we call it that?
I think for me it is. Anyways. I don't know how many people out there are addicted to watching, but it seems like there's a good following. So and we appreciate the support.
Well, 30 episodes in. If you'd like to send us a congratulatory email, love to hear from you on tether@gmail.com, or just jump on at asif@thelbma.com. We'd really like to hear. I think this is something that we should be proud of. 30. Episode number 30. And as you said, not a slow week. We're going to talk about some great relationships that have happened, some a little bit of Al Franken news about some legal stuff, as well as we're going to talk about Amex and some other, I guess, Groupon killers that's coming out of Amex. And then we're also going to talk about some product and a little bit of funding news that's come out of this. So why don't we just jump into story? Actually, before we go into story number one, let's talk about where you were. Where weren't you last week is the better, because you weren't at home.
I wasn't at home. Once again, I wasn't at home. I spent the better part of the week in Banff, which is just north of Calgary, Alberta, and up there was something called the Banff World Media Festival, which is a annual conference that brings together the brightest minds and in content production, television, film, and digital and social media related to that space. And it was an interesting time. This is my 5th year in a row being there, and this year I had the pleasure of speaking on a panel about gamification and talking about obviously how location and gamification are coming together, and in particular talking about content plays. And so it was interesting. I think there's a lot going on there, and we'll talk a little bit more. One of our stories today kind of touches on the gaming side a little bit and how gaming and location are coming together. But definitely a lot of interest. Definitely a lot of the folks from the television and movie worlds are see synergies with retail and promotional partnerships as it relates to location-based apps. And obviously we've seen that. We've talked about that in the last few weeks with Foursquare and Super 8 and Scavenger and Green Lantern and so on and so forth, and there's a lot of that going on, so expect more of that to come. And then I left Banff and I went to for a quick little trip out to Minneapolis, and I won't say I was surprised. It was a fantastic event put on by the Minnesota Interactive Marketing Association, packed house, hungry to learn more about where things in location-based marketing are going. And but for me, the biggest thing is just validation that this phenomenon that we're seeing is not just happening in Silicon Valley or New York City or Waterloo or wherever. It's happening everywhere, and it's happening in a great deal in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I think when you have big brands like Best Buy and Target based there, it just feeds development. It just feeds companies and innovation, around retail and marketing and advertising that want to, kind of leverage the fact that they've got these two big players right there. So, anyways, a great week.
Great week, and was there? I just got one question about this, and then let's dive into the content, because I'm always I always wonder about the perception of location-based marketing and anything around location-based advertising. You said it was packed in Minneapolis, and were people? What was their level of understanding about this industry? Was it kind of newbie feeling? Was it that they had deeper?
No, not at all. I would say it was pretty intermediate. Okay. People were definitely familiar with it. I would say, a whack of people had checked in on Foursquare to the event. There was a pretty good basic understanding of what this stuff's all about, at least at that level. You want to get into checking into content and other things and contextual stuff and so on. Not so much so, but definitely I would say at least a basic to intermediate level of understanding, and some people were quite advanced.
The reason I ask is because I picked up a magazine today. It's an Ottawa magazine. It's done by the Chamber of Commerce here in Ottawa, and there were two instances of this. One, we have this great jazz festival with Robert Plant for some reason playing the jazz festival. I'm not really sure. Yeah. But QR codes on both of these, and one was for a little boutique hotel, just outside of Ottawa, and I scanned both of them, and the Jazz Festival just took me to their website, just a standard website, no mobilized anything, I found it on a poster in a restaurant, and it didn't give me any localized content around that, no fault of their own, but this other one, this little hotel, I scanned, and it took me to a blank page with their URL, like a clickable URL,
right?
And that was it, right? So it just said, go to www.whatever.ca, and I come back to this and I think, you know what? It's just because we don't get it. There's a lot of people that are out there that don't understand it yet, and I think that's what we're trying to do is enlighten, give a little bit of a glimpse about what's going on in this industry, and it's almost like steal these ideas. Like, go and do something with this that is great in the location-based and location-aware services.
Well, there's so much potential, right? And I think with all we do to kind of try and stay on top of this space, you see so many ideas, you see so many concepts that if we were multi-billionaires, I'm sure we would go and kind of fund a whole bunch of companies to get this stuff done. But
I'd buy Necker Island and then I'd retire for a little while.
Yeah.
So the last event that you're going to an event this week down in Miami, Florida. Talk about that just very briefly.
Yeah. So it's the LBS Latin American 2011 conference. This is the third year of this conference. I'll call it a transition year for this conference because it's moving from kind of the traditional kind of old guard view of location, navigation, GIS, NavTech, TomTom, that whole world. And this year, a significant portion of the content is focused on advertising and marketing aspects of location. So, so we're involved heavily, sponsoring the cocktail reception on the first night. We're moderating 3 panel discussions on the second day. So it's going to be a busy time, and I think it's going to be interesting to just to see, and kind of take a poll of what's going on in Latin America in the space and who's doing what, and what the potential is. So,
wow, if you need anybody to stow away, in your baggage or carry it for you, just let me know. I don't mind going down to Miami.
Hey, yeah.
All right, and we'll have a full rundown of that next week. Let's jump into the news. Enough about the Location-Based Marketing Association. If you want some more information, go to thelbma.com. That's it. No more.
Done.
Let's talk about our first story today. Is a head scratcher for me. Bookcrawler partnering with Skyhook to do location-aware book finding discovery. That's what I got out of it.
This is really coming. The premise of this Bookcrawler thing is, as people move more and more away from traditional paper books to ebooks, the process of how you discover books is changing, because the argument that they're making is that you're not walking into the bookstore and picking stuff up and reading the backs to kind of see, hey, is this something that I might be interested in, or you're not going to the library as much, and picking books off the shelf and so on and so forth, and so they felt the creators of Bookcrawler that we needed a way to kind of have people discover books and see what their friends are reading and so on and so forth, and so they've married up this Bookcrawler app with some technology from our good friends at Skyhook. Technology is called Local Faves, and effectively what it does is it lets you basically discover around you what people are reading.
The trending book around you.
The trending book in your particular local area or neighborhood or city or whatever. And so it's an interesting way, I think, to to explore and to see what's out there. If you're, I have lots of friends who are, heavy book readers. They tend to be the traditional kind, at least my friends, anyways. I think there's definitely a place for this.
Yeah, I'm less impressed with this because I think it's a so what kind of, I have my social sphere and I use LinkedIn book recommendations. I use my Amazon page as a recommendation page. I also have a social group that reads a lot of books and makes recommendations to me, and I'm part of Audible.com, and I get the audiobooks, and I have a lot of books coming in at me. Now, what would be very interesting and location aware is very particular about nonfiction. I read a lot of nonfiction. And I would love it if I could identify the books that I've read, and as I am walking through a place that is relevant to one of those books, let me know. Yeah. Right? Like that is I don't know, reading Springsteen's biography. It hasn't come out yet, but it will at some point, or even anybody's biography, and literally being notified that as I'm walking through, Asbury Park in front of Madame Tussauds, Madame Marie, the shack there, that this is a relevant moment in the history of the person that I've read the biography. So give me a list of.
Just give them a good idea, Rob.
I know.
Hey, yeah.
But somebody's got to be doing this, and that is relevant.
No, I hear you, and I think it is another, to some extent, a Me Too, in the sense that, obviously there's others who do this. I mean, with Get Glue, for example, you can check into TV shows. You can also check into books.
Anything.
Yeah. I think the difference here is that, or the slight difference here is that, you can see in your local area what people are reading. Yeah. And whether that's of value or not, I don't know. Honestly, unless you're trying to, kind of add the group messaging element to it in the sense of, hey, there's 10 people are in my neighborhood here, are all reading the same book. Let's get together and have a book club discussion about it. Yeah. Okay, maybe. But anyhow,
it's so transient. So location is so transient. Like that's what it is, right? And I can't imagine walking to a campus and finding somebody, a book that's interesting, and then. You would just have an endless list of books, but I think that this is unfortunately one of those things where you're trying to throw location in just for the sake of throwing location in, unless it's a campus app for universities, and I think that might be a little bit more appealing.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think there's a bunch of things that they can do, and we've just thrown a couple out to kind of add some layers to this, but
stoke the flame, yeah.
Anyways.
So I have no interest in doing it, so somebody else take the idea. But it is June 18th, 2011, so if there is any issue about prior, perhaps this is when that idea was discovered. Just putting it out there. Bookcrawler and Skyhook working on a great way to discover books, book discovery, which is an interesting play. I think we're going to be talking about this next story for a few minutes, anyways, because this is the corner case in mobile gaming. Small company called Rovio with this small product. Don't know if anybody's heard about it. Called Angry Birds or something like that. Tweet. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. This is a Angry Birds launching something called Magic Places.
Magic Places. And by the way, I read in a separate story this week that they hit 1 million downloads in a day.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
1 million downloads in a day.
They've done 200 million downloads.
Wow.
200 million downloads. Like, just stop and think about that. But their goal stated is 1 billion.
Right.
Like I see, the whole Facebook. This is going to be like the Rovio movie, right? With Justin Timberlake saying, 200 million? That's not cool. You know what's cool? 1 billion.
A billion.
1 billion. So Angry Birds launches this Magic Places. They're everywhere. I also read that they're launching a.
So I talked about this as I alluded to earlier on my my panel at Banff. the concept of gaming and location and content and all these things coming together.
Yep.
And this is a great example of this playing out. I mean, here you have a game with already 200 million downloads, 1 million downloads a day now apparently, and growing astronomically.
Yep.
And people love this thing, and I'm one of the few guys I think who's actually never played Angry Birds. Haven't downloaded it, haven't played it, so I could be in the next million. I don't know.
You have never played this game?
I've never played. I've seen it. I've watched people play it, like right beside me. So like I'm familiar with it, but I've never played it.
Okay, so we got to stop this podcast and just go play a game.
No, but this next move, this Magic Places thing, may be the thing that brings me into it. I don't know.
All right, describe it.
Let's talk a little bit about what it is. So Magic Places is an experiment by Rovio around extending the product into the real world, into the physical world. And so what they've done is they've said, look, we're going to set up a relationship.
Sorry, I just have a mental image of people wandering around launching chickens at pigs in real life, right? Like, here you go. And it's like launching birds everywhere. It's like, hey, wait a second. It is Angry Birds.
It is Angry Birds. Well, so where they're going with this is look, you can, we're setting up retail relationships with stores. We're going to have, stuffed animal versions of the birds. We're going to have all kinds of product out there, like toys for the kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we're creating this whole ecosystem, of marketing stuff around Angry Birds.
And a cookbook.
And so these places that you can go to, which are real places, retailers, to buy Angry Birds stuff, are going to be called Magic Places. And effectively what happens is you can do things there, such as tapping two NFC-enabled phones together, you and some other Angry Birds player. And by doing so, it's kind of like Bump. So think of Bump. And it basically unlocks new levels of the game that you can't get anywhere else other than when you're in these physical places. Brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
It's the action and the location that unlocks the content.
You got to be in the location, and you have to bump phones, and then you unlock new levels.
See, I think that this is and I even heard that there's a twist, like a head-to-head twist, where you put the gamification. There's competition, so it's like a high scores. So you walk into a Starbucks.
Yeah, there's a local leaderboard as well that they've added as part of this. So there's basically two new pieces. There's local leaderboards, based on where you are.
Yep.
And then there's this concept of doing things such as bumping phones to unlock new levels. They also, for those who don't have the NFC-enabled phones, they're going to have NFC tagged and GPS-enabled goods and things like that you can scan, and a bunch of other stuff at those locations.
So, I mean, this is great experimentation going on by Rovio around location.
We talk a lot about the lack of innovation, and here's somebody actually pushing, gaming and already a successful game by any measurement tool, a step further and bringing it, as they say, bringing it into the real world.
I can't wait to see this and see the impact, because I know this plays on kind of what Scavenger's doing. A lot of these companies who are gamifying location, but it's really about, as Scavenger does, it's a scavenger hunt at the location, or something that you have to do at the location. Yeah. I wonder if retail establishments are going to pick this up. So I can understand a sit back experience like a coffee shop. But a restaurant, I don't think that it would work so well. But what about a true retailer? So ultimately, what ends up happening here is that the Magic Place, you do something, you unlock content from Rovio. You would also unlock content, not content, but you would unlock coupons or some kind of discount or some kind of benefit to the place that you're at. Obviously, there has to be something in it for them, right?
Yeah, well, they haven't announced who the retailers are. They've just said, like, it won't be everywhere. It'll just be in certain hand-picked places where we think it's a good fit with our brand. So there's got to be some connection to the brand, to the company, to the toys, to the whatever they're selling. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be Angry Bird Happy Meals or something. I have no idea, right? I have no idea at this point, but. By the way, McDonald's, if you're listening.
Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's exactly like you think about a match made in heaven, which is Angry Birds, McDonald's, Happy Meal, plush toy, something along those lines. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that that's pretty incredible.
I love it. News, fantastic innovation. They also announced a contest that goes along with this. So basically, they're running this contest with Audio Draft, which is a Finnish crowdsourcing company. And so what they're doing is there's supposed to be some sort of sound or some kind of music when you scan one of these things.
Really?
That basically says I've unlocked whatever. So they're going to crowdsource the creation of those sounds. So they've announced this contest. Users will help design and choose what sounds are going to accompany the Angry Birds magic, and the winner will receive $1,000.
So, okay. I mean, again, it's great. It's innovation, right? I mean,
yeah. Hey, they keep pushing the envelope, right? They're trying new things. So.
Well, I like that, and they have enough money to be able to do this, which is what I love about it. You've got to have somebody who has the cash to be able to go out and try these things out. And but what they're doing is they're paving a way, because none of this is protectable. It's not IP. These are just ideas that if people see them working, we're gonna have them everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
So, well, Angry Birds.
Good on Rovio.
Yeah. Like I like it. I mean, and if the $41 million are going to pave the way for the rest of it, I think that it's going to be for the rest of us to be able to figure out how to do these things. Sure, let them spend the money. I'll and then I'll pick up what works and pass that on as well. Well, okay. So Angry Birds, Magic Places. Any idea when this is actually going to come out?
They're talking about in the next month. So I don't know.
But they haven't announced any partners or anything like that.
Just said within the next month or so.
Have they announced any partners?
No.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, I mean, I'm interested to see, because I think that you've just given them the best idea, which is McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. There's the perfect one right there. McDonald's. Right. Transient in nature.
Let's
perfect.
get on it.
Anyway, Angry Birds plus McDonald's equals Magic Places. We're going to put that in there. And if it comes true, right, you've heard it here. It's Asif Khan who predicted that.
Yeah.
So our third story here is an interesting one, which is Senator Al Franken.
Yes. So Senator Al Franken, who's from Minnesota, the Democrat from Minnesota, along with Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut. So these are two Democrats. On Wednesday, they introduced some legislation that they're calling the Location Privacy Protection Act of 2011. And just so I'm going to actually read what this little paragraph here of what they're suggesting in this document. So it says, the bill will require any company that may obtain a customer's location information from his or her smartphone or other mobile device to 1. Get that customer's express consent before collecting his or her location data. 2. Get that customer's express consent before sharing his or her location data with third parties. If any company obtains the location information of more than 5,000 mobile devices, that company will also have to 3. Take reasonable steps to protect that information from reasonably foreseeable threats. That's a bit nebulous. And then 4, tell an inquiring customer whether or not they have his or her information. And 5, delete that information if the customer so requests.
Okay.
So my response to this, when I read this, was, isn't that what we do now anyways? Isn't that what all of Apple and Google and Facebook and everybody else is basically already saying we do that?
I mean, I would say that because I mean, you have to. This is kind of a knee jerk reaction around what happened with. I think that an article that I wrote actually called this. What did they call it? Location Gate. What happened with Apple around the gathering of their location. The fact that they didn't delete it, and basically you had your last 9 months of location stored on your phone, unencrypted, that people could actually access once you.
Right. But my understanding is basically everybody's at this point now.
Yeah.
since the Apple problem, everybody's kind of come out and said, look, yeah, like we're going to delete the information. If we'll give you all kinds of granular controls as the consumer when you opt into this stuff about what you can do with that data or not do with that data, or et cetera, right? So,
yeah,
I honestly don't see anything new in here.
No, but when you sign up, I mean, I think most of these guys are protecting you already, right? My understanding is that you are giving explicit permission. You're asked to give explicit permission for every application that you install. It will pop up and say, "Hey, listen, this app wants to know your location. Do you allow it or disallow it?" And you can turn that on and off. And then you also have the ability to say, "Listen, what else is there?" I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is that I already tell it whether or not I want to allow it to track me, right? And it also allows me to then say yes or no to being, bombarded by messages, right?
Again, I think all these apps are opt-in. All these apps give you those kinds of control today, anyways. And if they don't yet, they will, because at the end of the day, I think that, the consumers have come out and said, look, this is what we want, and so I'm not sure where this bill is going to go. It's a knee-jerk reaction. Now, the interesting thing, just to relate back to my travels this week in Banff, one of the keynote presenters was Chairman Conrad von Finkenstein from the CRTC in Canada. So he heads up the CRTC, our version of the FCC down in the U.S. for our American listeners. And, he gave this keynote address. I was one of the guys in the crowd. And, when it came time for Q&A, I asked the question of how he saw regulation in this space around location, and he felt that there were they didn't really have any hardcore plans at this point. That it's something that they were looking at for all cloud-based services, is how he put it. And we had a further conversation later in the week following that, and he basically said we're definitely open to dialogue on this space. We welcome, the LBMA's participation in that dialogue and others. And, at the moment, it's not something they're moving hard on, is what I gathered from it. So
no. And typically Canada is not the aggressor here. They're not very aggressive when it comes to any of this kind of stuff. I mean, it's still not illegal to download torrents ultimately. Right. So come up to Canada if you're not, if you don't want any protection for your content or anything. But one of the things that also, they said that there was, in addition to Franken's bill, there was a senator from Oregon, Ron Wyden, and Jason Chaffetz from Utah, who's they're introduced a bill, the Geolocation Privacy and Surveillance Act, which is called the GPS Act, which is terrible. But I'll read what it says here. It's designed to give government agencies, commercial entities, and private citizens clear guidelines for when and how geolocation information can be accessed and used. And this is not only applied for consumers, but this is also government. So it comes to like tracking location of individual users. So this is like, even they're talking about wiretap requests now. I think that this is just a... we're going to see much more of this as a result of what's happened with Apple and the issues around location. And we talked about this a while ago about who checks in, the demographic of people who check in, and we were surprised that there was such a high percentage of women. But this is really a knee-jerk reaction to those corner cases of people that they feel that if they do this, they're going to get stalked or going to get harassed or going to get. Because every opportunity you have, it's opt-in. You check in, you opt in, and I think
absolutely you're choosing to do this. You make that choice, you make that decision at the time, and even during the actual activity on the device. It's I don't understand why. Again, it's a knee-jerk reaction. So, anyways, Location Privacy Protection Act 2011. Al Franken, Richard Blumenthal. Check it out if you're interested in that space.
Yeah, and also the Geolocation Privacy and Surveillance Act.
Right.
So, these are two things, and we're going to get much more of this as people are trying to struggle with mobile right now. and trying to figure out how to regulate it. And location's a tough thing to regulate. Boy, is it ever. Because it's going to have a lot to do with GPSs as well. So, all right, our last story of the day. Amex Serve and AOL teaming up with AOL's Patch service to create Patch deals. Patch daily deals, I think is what it was.
Yeah, so from all the press I read around this thing is everybody's saying, hey, this is the Groupon Living Social killer, and I don't quite see it. What I do see is another Me Too, another we got to get into this space, but it's nice to hear from AOL. I'm glad that they're doing something. They've kind of been over there with Huffington Post in the acquisition and all of that, and we really haven't heard much from them. And so here they are with the Patch Daily Deals. According to the numbers I saw, there's about 850 small business listed in the Huffington Post media group under the Patch system, and so. The big thing here is that they've teamed up with Amex. Basically, you can go and get the deal, and you can pay for the deal, or redeem the deal, so to speak, through Amex transaction. So effectively, if you remember our conversation a while ago with Foursquare and Amex and Scavenger and all that kind of stuff, when people starting to do those partnerships, that's exactly what this is. It's no different. It's nothing new. It's just with a different company in AOL.
And I mean, the odd thing here is that it's there's no mobile app. Like it's literally like you'll get a card, right? The deal will come in the form of a card, so that you don't have to print off a coupon. You'll just get the Serve card from Amex, supported by Amex, obviously, and it's and that's what you get. So it's like this is a it's an odd thing. I think I read an article somewhere where they said this is like Groupon 1.0, and Groupon's about to come out with 2.0, and this is not competitive. But they don't have a mobile app. So while everybody using Living Social and Groupon will walk up with their...
So there's no real... there's no discovery or location element that we would have from the app side. What you have here is... we're pushing you the Groupon 1.0 deals, effectively like the email type of deal. But those deals are tied to this card. And so you walk around to all these retailers, you have this card with you, you swipe the card and you get the deal. So I guess I would call it 1.5 maybe. But it's interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think that's without the location piece, it's an interesting play because with Living Social and Groupon moving more and more into the location aware and still group buying, but also the location, what's around you, what coupons are around you, what deals or discounts are around you. I don't know that this stands a chance. It's a tough play.
I think the only thing going here is that unlike Groupon and Living Social, there's no. It's a lot better scenario for the merchant, right? Because they don't have to share margin on the deal or any of that kind of stuff. So you don't have the high costs of the Groupon Living Social piece. Yeah. So they do have that going for them here.
Not to mention that you've got an established group in Patch, which is a very, very hyper-local, has hyper-local focus, and then you've got Amex, which is Amex, right? And so it could work. It's but we'll I'll reserve judgment on that one. Okay. Well, AOL Patch and Amex Serve Patch daily deals. Another daily deal. It's like the year 2011, the year of the daily deal. You'll never have to ever pay full price for that massage or that pedicure ever again. That's it for the news today. Those 4 stories, big stories, I think, certainly shows the breadth, the diversity of what's going on in the location where, from gaming to books to Amex and local deals, and also now we're getting into some legalese, which is I think we're going to see much more of this in protecting the human right around location, the right to be there but not tell everybody be there or be broadcasted or followed. One funding piece that happened this week, and good news, which is I think that we're witnessing a shift. Obviously, location-based services and marketing is contributing to a massive shift in retail, and this company, I think, is right in the middle of this. Aislebuyer closes around.
So Aislebuyer is a company we've talked about before, and
Andrew
so
Paradise,
they announced $7.5 million in new funding. So Aislebuyer, if you're not familiar with it, is an app that runs on iPhone and Android platforms. I don't think it's BlackBerry. And basically, what you do is you go around, you scan products, and you're able to check out of a retail environment without actually standing in line. And so you've basically associated the yourself with a credit card or what have you offline before you walk into the store, and then you basically scan the barcode on the product, and it's basically charged to you, and so you don't have to line up.
I love it.
Makes sense, right? So $7.5 million in new funding from Boston. They're a Boston-based company, and the funding's from Old Willow Partners. Sounds historic.
It really does.
Old Willow Partners, yes. Yeah.
Well, so and I actually got to sit down with Andrew Paradise, who's the founder and CEO of Aislebuyer, a while ago for an Untethered session, and this is, nobody's going to come out and say this, but what we're talking about here, especially what these guys are doing and the contribution that these kinds of companies are going to have on retail, is that it's ultimately the end of the cash register is what we're talking about here. Is that maybe not in our lifetime, maybe not in our kids' lifetime, there's going to be cash registers going on, but this is ultimately that beginning, is that, there's companies like Tabbed Out that are trying to get you out of the restaurant and the bar very quickly without having to interact and hand off your credit card. And companies like Aislebuyer that are doing the same thing in the retail experience. Just, look, I've got this product. I don't want to wait in that lineup. I just want to buy it and walk out the door. And, I think that we're going to look back at these kind of companies and think, okay, that was the beginning of the end of the cash register.
Yeah, and the other thing too I like about this, and we talked about this just last week when we were talking about the Pepsi 10 program. So, the U.S. in the U.S. version of that program that happened last year, Aislebuyer was one of those 10 companies. Yeah. So, to see them moving forward and being successful, raising additional capital, I love to hear that. So,
good on them. Congratulations to Andrew. We love what he's doing. Let's see some more of that kind of innovation. On to the product of the week. A little bit of dust. Something called Pixie.
Pixie, and it's Picksie.
Yes.
Pixie. So this is a website and mobile app, and don't want to spend too much time on it, other than to say, the way I describe Pixie is kind of the evolution of the recommendation engine. So nothing.
We're
really
already onto the evolution of the recommendation engine.
Yes, because we talked about a year ago. Everybody was about checking in.
Yeah.
And then earlier this year, January or so, everybody was starting to build recommendation engines. And now they're basically saying, hey, we've perfected the recommendation engine, and it's called Pixie, and so this is what it is. So I'm actually going to read their little thing here. So it says, enables individuals to instantly discover a host of entertainment and dining options based on their location and personal preferences. And so we save people time. We save users time by deciding what to do and receive instant recommendations that match their unique likes based on their current location and preferences. So what they're talking about here is they're tracking all this stuff. They know what you do. They know where you go. They know what your friends do. They know what your friends like. And we're able to kind of, hit you with the recommendations that make sense for you, so you don't have to make those decisions about what to search for.
Yeah. So right? I mean, it's now I tried to use it both on the app, tried to use the website. It's not available in Ottawa yet. So I mean, this is one of those services that are going to be rolling out, and it's available in a number of cities. But I mean, this really. this really has to these services rely on lots of people using them and contributing.
Yeah, and lots of data.
Lots of data.
This is all about data.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that that's a challenge. And everybody hooks into Facebook or Twitter, and I think that that's a good way to aggregate almost immediately. Throw in LinkedIn, and you've got your social graph that's very well represented. But it's this is a longer play, right? You got to get the data in there in order to be able to come up with.
Well, they're trying to go where Rumble is going, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about those guys before, and their shift, into this space.
Yep.
Rumble's the difference with Rumble is they're trying to kind of license their recommendation engine. Yep. Make it APIs. License it to third parties. Pixie's saying, hey, we're doing it on our own. Who knows? Maybe they're using Rumble on the back end.
They just won't exactly. Well, I'm all for the recommendation. So this is the evolution of the recommendation engine. Check them out at pixie.com, PICKSIE.com. Go and see if you can download the app and go and take a look and see if it works for you. All we can do is recommend these things, and you go and play around with them, see what's going on. It's good to know what's going on in those industries because for you guys who are at the intermediate level of location-based marketing, this is something that you should be aware of because it's going to influence who's going to walk into your doors at some point if you're a bricks and mortar business, restaurant, or retail establishment. Pixie.com. Right. Our resource of the week, the Chinese LBS market. Yeah,
so I pulled this one out because, we talked the other week about Jaipeng and what they were doing in China with Louis Vuitton and kind of leading the way and so on. And yeah, absolutely. And so this study comes out that says China is now at 6.55 million location-based users, which is a small number still considering the Chinese population. This is the end of the first quarter this year, but it's a very big number in growth, quarter over quarter. So. Yeah. Things are definitely heating up in China. You got Jaipeng, you got another company called Bido. So there's a bunch of companies out there, and obviously Foursquare and others are trying to go there as well. So anyhow, it's the study's from Penn Olson, and we'll throw a link up to it on the site and take a look at it. 6.55 million users.
Anything strike you through this report that other than 6.55 million users in relation to the population, not so high, but
no, it's just to see that the growth is actually accelerating, very, very quickly in the Chinese market. I wouldn't be surprised that by year end, if over the last 6 months or so, that they didn't pass the U.S. user market with this kind of growth.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so we'll look at this. It's the location-based service market in China. It's 6.55 million accounts, and we'll include a link, so it's probably right up there, right? Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere over there. So that's it. You're off to Miami, Florida. Smoking Miami, Florida. By the end of the week, we'll get a full rundown of what's going on after this Latin American location event and your panels. Sounds like you're running the place.
And if there's anybody, just a last thought on that, if there's anybody in the Miami area or that wants to come to that event, we have it up on our site at thelbma.com. Also, we've just added the second day, where the latter half of the second day is all about location-based marketing and advertising. There's a special price now just to attend that part as opposed to the whole 2-day conference. For just $95, you can attend the marketing portion. So, check it out. Look forward to having you down there, and hope you can make it.
And for those of you that are in Ottawa, not sunny Florida, I have launched the Ottawa chapter of the Mobile Monday franchise, which is unbelievable that a city like Ottawa, the nation's capital, does not have it. So if you happen to be in Ottawa or around Ottawa, and are in town this coming Monday, which is the day that you're probably listening to this, come on down to the Mercury Grove or go to mobilemondayOttawa.com and check out the event. We're going to just do a simple social that focuses on the impact that mobile's having in the Ottawa community and bring up some of the great software companies that are here building for the mobile space. This is the first one. It'll happen the third Monday of every month. Mobile Monday Ottawa. I think we're like 9 years behind everybody else, but at least we now have Mobile Monday Ottawa. So there. You can either
There you
go to
go.
Miami or to Ottawa. Come on.
Hey,
It's
the weather's about the same right now, I would say.
South Beach or Bank Street South. That's exactly what we're talking about here. It's a terrible analogy. And that's it, Asif. This week in Location-Based Marketing, episode number 30 done. We're officially getting into our 30s. That means that every M&M that you eat from this point forward is going to put on a pound a year, or something silly like that. But great doing these first 30, and let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob.
And Asif at thelbma.com, at thelbma through Twitter, and of course, you can find me on tether.tv. This has been episode number 30. We'll see you guys next week for episode number 31. Thanks, Asif. And you guys out there, give us some feedback, and thank you for watching and listening to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Later.
Cheers.